The UFC has finally arrived in Belém, Brazil, for their first event in the north area of the country, where there are tons of MMA fans that have been watching the events, the small events, the big events for decades now. They are finally having a chance to have a UFC close to home, and they are getting a huge main event for them. Machida, local idol, he's a superstar here in Belém. But Friday, the day before the event, was a weird day, and I have here Paul Felder, UFC lightweight and commentator for the company, to help me break down what happened today and how everything is going to affect the event tomorrow. First of all, Paul, thank you very much for joining me today. Let's start with the main events. Machida middleweight at 186. Eric Anders didn't make weight at first, but then was given an extra hour to try to make weight, and he made weight 50 minutes later. But if you're Lyoto, when the UFC asks you and the commission asks you, are you okay with giving him an extra hour to try to make weight? Because a lot of fighters had issues making weight to hotel issues and all that. But if you were Lyoto, would you agree with that decision? Would you let him try to cut more weight and maybe get in a bad shape for the fight, or maybe take more money from him and fight him the way he is?
Yeah, I think that just shows where Lyoto's at in his career and how he is as a man and as a competitor, where it's not about getting a little extra money from his opponent. It's not about trying to get, that little bit of edge. For him, he wants it to be an even playing ground. He wants it to be a fair fight. He knows, Eric Anders was having trouble with the hot water. He said he wasn't able to cut the weight the way he wanted to. It's not something that he's known for, missing weight or anything like that. So I think it's just it shows the class that Lyoto has as a competitor and as a martial artist, and that's always something that he's kind of, been proud of as a man and as a martial artist, that he's comes from a karate background, has a lot of respect for his opponents and how he approaches the whole situation. So I think that just shows that he's a class act and a guy that we can respect in terms of MMA and the UFC. So I'm not sure everybody would do that, but I'm kind of glad that he did that. And it's like, okay, now we're both fighting. It's on weight. There's no excuses. That's the other thing. If something went the wrong way for Anders, he could always be like, well, I had a really bad weight. No, this time Lyoto's like, you made weight, I gave you extra time, there's no excuses, there's no problems, there's no taking money from anybody, it's all set and square. So yeah, I think that's a sign of class, and that's something you can do when you're a star and you're the main event, whereas some of these other guys that had weight trouble on the card might have not had that pull. They couldn't be like, oh, give him another hour. But in the main event, this fight has to happen. They want this to happen. So he took advantage of that, and it worked out. So I kind of respect that he did that.
Yeah, there's no excuse, but in the end, Eric Anders kept trying to make weight, kept
and that
weight.
shows.
So in the end, do you think as a fighter, as an athlete, do you think that extra hour trying to make weight while Lyoto is already recovering might affect him tomorrow night, or things?
That all depends on the circumstances. It depends on how hard that cut was already for him, how dehydrated he was already. These are things that only his team and himself know. We'll know a little bit when we see him in the cage on tomorrow night. But up until then, it's all speculation. I saw him at the ceremonial weigh-ins. Seemed fine. Everything seemed okay. He looked big. Nothing. He didn't still look drawn out or anything like that. So I don't think it will be something that we're going to be looking back on this on Saturday night or Sunday and going, oh, well, those last 2 pounds really sucked him out, or dried him out and affected his performance. I don't think it's going to be something we're going to have to worry about on Saturday.
Speaking about the matchup and the styles, who do you think has the advantage in the standing? Because Lyoto has that tricky style, that karate that for years was a tough puzzle for fighters to try to break down. But he recently, he's coming off 3 losses, but he lost to 3 great opponents. So it's kind of hard to read what to expect from him. He's coming off a big loss to Derek Brunson, but he was out of the game for years now. So how do you think this is going to play out in the striking area when Eric Anders, this young lion, trying to get his biggest win, trying to get in the rankings in the UFC? How do you think this style is going to play out?
I think just physically and power-wise and youth is all on Eric Anders' side, right? But obviously the veteran is Lyoto Machida. He's been in there with everybody in that division, including the division of, the light heavyweight division and bigger guys. He's been in there. So Eric Anders being the bigger, maybe more athletic guy is nothing new to Machida. He's been in there with guys who are that athletic at 205. So I think as long as he can find his rhythm in there again and stay calm and embrace this crowd, this is his hometown, he's going to have support. I mean, if you were at the weigh-ins or watched the weigh-ins, you saw that these people absolutely love Lyoto. I think it's going to be tough for Anders because he's got to close that distance, right? And that's when Machida does his best work. So if he tries to rush him, if he doesn't use just the right amount of patience against Lyoto, it could be a short night for him, because you've got to try to get in there, you've got to try to grind him out a little bit, but you've got to get close enough to Machida to do that. And that's usually when people get knocked out, is when they try to rush him, they try to over pursue him, which is what he wants, and you get caught. So I think if he can get back to that style and kind of lure Anders in, it could be a quick night for Machida and getting him out of there. I think if the fight goes on and Anders uses his size and his strength, that's where I think we can see him catch Lyoto. Maybe Lyoto backing up, leaves his chin up in the air like he's tend to do, like he did with Brunson. That's when he gets caught. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued about this this matchup.
Hard to know what to expect from Lyoto at this point.
You never know. You never know with that style. It's so one way or the other. He can either knock somebody out in a heartbeat, but that style also leaves himself defensively open for a lot of shots too, because his hands are down. He's very wide stance. So we're going to find out Saturday night.
Yeah,
for sure.
and in the co-main event we're having Valentina Shevchenko against Priscila Cachoeira, but that was not going to be the co-main event. Co-main event was supposed to be Pedro Munoz against John Dodson.
Which I was excited about.
Yeah,
so
it's a great matchup, but Pedro Munoz is another fighter that had trouble making weight. He came in 4 pounds overweight, and John Dodson wasn't happy about it.
Yep.
Understand? We can all understand why he wasn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
But in the end, Dodson didn't want to take the fight. He chose not to take the fight. The UFC had tried hours to
negotiate,
to get the fight, but in the end, they are not fighting. We spoke about the Eric Anders situation and talking about John Dodson. Now, if you're in his shoes, if your opponent is 4 pounds overweight, but you already spent a lot of money in your training camp. You came to Brazil to fight, and your opponent is overweight, but you have to deal with this situation. If you fight a guy, he's gonna have this advantage, but you get more money. How do you take this situation?
Man, it's really tough. That's one of those calls where you've got to be in the fighter's shoes to really understand what's going on with them mentally and where they're at. Because once the guy misses weight by that much, and Dodson is not a natural 135er as it is. He's not a huge guy for the weight class. So I can see where he's coming from too. He sees Munoz and he's thinking, okay, this guy already weighed in 4 pounds over. What is he going to be by fight night? And then on the other side for him, usually fights happen anyway when a guy misses by that much. So I see the disappointment on them both, and I hope that what ends up happening is it stinks for the fans here, in Belém that it didn't end up happening, but I think the fight just might end up getting postponed and pushed to another date. So I think they will end up facing each other. I think the fight is still going to happen, but as far as saying what I think should have happened or how the situation should have been handled as a fighter, I know that on any given day those circumstances are so touchy on how things are going with each guy. I never want to say like, oh, he should have taken the fight or he should have done that. So it is what it is, and unfortunately the fight got scrapped. It was a fight I was looking forward to. I know Dodson very well, and I've loved watching Pedro Munoz fight, and I thought that was going to really be a possible next contender, fight to see who's going to really move up the 135-pound division. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. But for people at home, it's one of those things, man. You don't know what these guys go through, and for Dodson's sake, he traveled all the way down here and still made weight, and left his hometown of Albuquerque to get here and still managed to make the weight as well. So it's one of those tricky situations. So it sucks.
But the new co-main event is Valentina Shevchenko against Priscila Cachoeira. Probably Shevchenko is the biggest favorite
on the card, yeah.
Nobody really knows Cachoeira outside of Brazil. She's undefeated, but she hasn't really fought anyone as good as Valentina. So do you think? I mean, everybody kind of treats Valentina as the logical fighter that's gonna maybe hold the UFC belt one day as at the flyweight division. Do you see this fight maybe as a showcase matchup for Valentina to just go there?
Well, of course, yeah. Maybe it is, and maybe that's what it's set up to be. Maybe it's not. But at the end of the day, it's a fist fight, and if she comes in and upsets her, then she's catapults herself. And that's what's great about these kind of matchups, because you never know that there's always these crazy stories, these underdog stories. We always talk about these stories in MMA. So she's just got to take the bull by the horns and treat it like that, and go in there and be like, okay, everybody can count me out. Everybody can think that Valentina is going to be the next 125-pound champ. No big deal. But if she goes in there and upsets her and just puts on a performance in front of her home country and just lets that momentum, push her through this, she could end up being the next big thing in that weight division. That's what's great about MMA, is there's so many ways to win, there's so many ways to lose. You never know. You never really know how it's going to play out.
As a commentator, how do you see this fight going? Do you think this is Valentina's fight to lose? Do you think that she's the one she's gonna?
She's got all the pressure on her for sure. Valentina's got all the pressure on her. She's coming in here. She switched to down to 125. She's already been a killer at 135 pounds. So everybody's expecting her to win. So she's definitely not in her home country. She's got that going for her. But she's got to come in, and she's got to, for her, a decision doesn't do it. She's got to go in there and put on a show and try to get her out in the first round. So that's where it gets tricky. She's got a lot of pressure on her. But then again, she's such a professional and such a martial artist about everything. I don't think that's really going to bother her. I think she's just going to go in there and do her job. And we'll see how it plays out. But, it's definitely one of those things where if she loses that really is going to knock her down quite a few pegs, and really, change the whole division of 125 pounds for the women.
This card doesn't have a lot of big names, but they have a lot of interesting fights and interesting matchups. Out of every other fight in the card, which one has your attention?
I think Santos and Smith is one of the fights that I think is definitely going to be one of the fights to watch, and the next possible big contender at 185 pounds. Both these guys have been absolutely killing it lately at middleweight, and both can end the fight in the first 30 seconds, or it can push on. And Anthony Smith has shown that he's got a chin. He's kind of comes from behind in a lot of fights, like he did with Hector Lombard. But Santos, my God, you want to talk about somebody that comes out there and is just ferocious from bell to bell. So that is the fight that I'm 100% most looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a great fight. It's a great card. There are a lot of interesting matchups, and it was a busy day. I'm pretty sure you're tired and want to get some sleep before.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time to
talk to us
about this card. And stay tuned on MMAfighting.com for more coverage Saturday nights. Thank you very much.